Welcome to the Aviation Pros Podcast, the go-to platform for professionals in the aviation industry. Powered by AviationPros.com, the leading source for comprehensive news, insights, and data on airport operations. Whether you're focused on airport management, improvement programs, ground handling, equipment, MRO, or FBO operations, we've got you covered with the expertise and resources you need to stay ahead. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Aviation Pros Podcast. I'm Joe Petrie, Editor-in-Chief for Airport Business. Sacramento's aviation system is undergoing a boom in business. Between a growing population and economy, airports across the system are seeing increased demand. To meet this demand, Sacramento International Airport is undergoing extensive capital improvements, and leaders are investing for a future built on technology and increased traffic. Leading the charge is the Systems Director, Nichol. I recently had a chance to talk with Cindy about some of the investments, including the recent TIFIA loan captured by the airport. Well, Cindy, thank you very much for speaking with me today. Obviously, there's a lot going on in Sacramento with your aviation system and a lot of different opportunities and goals and challenges you're working through. Sacramento's International Airport has seen significant growth in recent years. Can you tell me a little bit about what's driving the growth in your system?
Sure, absolutely. It's the economy. We have room to grow, not only at our airports, but also in the area. So we've seen, ever since the levies were certified, maybe 15 years ago-ish, now there's a lot of development that's happening, new housing, business development, industrial development, all of that drives an increase in the population. We've had a lot of people move from the Bay Area in particular, and that population growth compounds the economic growth that we're seeing, and that all drives our passenger numbers as well as our activity.
Now, SMF recently announced the new parking garage that's going to be opening in 2026 to accommodate growing passenger demand. Can you share a little bit about this project?
Yes, so this is going to be a beautiful new garage, which will have 5,500 spaces right next to Terminal B. It's being built by a woman-owned local business, which won the competition straight up. And her firm actually built the existing garage, which has about 5,000 spaces. So we cannot build parking fast enough. Right now, our garage fills up routinely, pretty much every day, and then it frees up once people have come and gone. But we just cannot build parking fast enough. So that is a huge initiative that we have. We also have a couple of other features to the garage that I really like. One is that we'll have 30 level 1 electric charging stations that will be available when the garage opens, and then 30 more spaces will be ready with conduit installed that we can put in later. A third aspect that I really like about the garage is that it's going to have a parking guidance system. So customers coming into the garage will be able to see which floors there are available spaces, and then driving down on each floor, they'll be able to see red and green lights to easily be able to see where spaces are available. That does a number of things. One is it reduces their time trying to find a spot. It reduces the amount of time and the emissions from driving around looking for a space. And it also reduces their anxiety and their frustration in trying to find a space. So ultimately, just makes for happier customers.
Absolutely does. And one of the things that also makes for happier customers in an airport, as we all know, is more new routes. I know that SMF has been able to add several new nonstop routes, including international destinations like Los Cabos and Puerto Vallarta. Can you talk a little bit about what the strategies have been most effective in attracting the new airlines and routes and how these benefit the region as a whole?
For sure. So we really pay attention to where our community is traveling to. And we serve a community that's actually 7 counties and over 3 million people. So we get information from FAA regarding, it's from a 10% ticket pool. And so we know where people are beginning and ending their trips, regardless of whether they're hubbing somewhere. So we can look and see what routes are unserved that people are traveling and what routes people would like to, where we could add more service where they're underserved. So we compound the use of the FAA 10% ticket pool with looking at what is going on with businesses in this area. So we have formed a regional air alliance with the Greater Sacramento Economic Council to identify and support new demand, in particular from area businesses. So that is all information that we then can take to our airlines to show them what service they could provide that would do very well here.
You have a very strong public arts program. It's something that's known for the airport. It's something that people enjoy when they're going through there. I know I'm always a fan, especially even when I've gone through Sacramento myself, to be able to see the types of installations. Can you talk a little bit about where that program is going as far as the updates or new installations or anything that we could be privy to that might be coming down the line?
Certainly. So the first two projects that we have are well underway. If you come to the airport, you would see things coming up out of the ground, dirt moving, etc. So the first project is the pedestrian walkway, and we have 3 artists that are going to be providing art in the pedestrian walkway. So it's connecting Terminal B with Concourse B. And so the southern part of the pedestrian walkway, we selected artists using a regional competition. And we selected artist John Roloff, whose art is entitled Blue Moon, and it's going to have meteorite-like slices in the terrazzo, so that will be very compelling. Kids can actually enjoy walking on the moon. Secondly, then you'll hit the hub where there's a transition from being at the 5th level, which is where Terminal B will be the entrance point to the pedestrian walkway, and then you'll transition down a couple floors. That hub will have art, which was a national competition, and artist David Brooks won that piece of art, and he's going to be bringing us an piece of art called Preserved Flight Paths, which is going to show the flight paths of endangered birds in the area, which is going to be very cool. And then the north end, also a regional competition like the south end. 2 artists, Wameng Yu and Louis Chin, both won that together, working together. And their art is entitled Riparian, which is going to be really showcasing the interface between land, sky, and water here. The last piece of art that we have selected is for the garage. It's the art is by Paul Ramirez Jonas, who's going to be providing images of fields of our agricultural powerhouse and also place names in the perforated panels. So that's going to be just beautiful and very much like the other pieces, a celebration of this region. We actually have a notice out for competition for art in Concourse B, which is where we're going to be adding 6 gates. So for anyone who's an artist out there, please respond.
I'm definitely sure they will. That sounds like a great opportunity for them. So one of the things that the airport has been very involved with as well has been investing in solar energy to power operations. Can you give me a little bit of an update on the progress of these projects and how they're aligning with the overall sustainability goals?
Absolutely. So we have had 2 solar arrays on airport that provide about 30% of our electrical needs. One is a 20-acre site and the other is a 15-acre site, and they provide about 7.9 megawatts of power. They've been in place for years now, and we're currently working with Watt EV, a private entity, on a 110-acre solar-powered EV charging facility, which will be on airport land on the other side of I-5, on the south side of I-5. It's going to be used for charging semi-trucks and other EVs to facilitate really zero-emission goods movement all the way up from Long Beach to the Oregon border.
Now, one of the things you've mentioned on here before is that there's been a lot of modernization that's going on at the airport as well, just preparing it. Can you give a little bit of an update on the progress of these projects and how they're aligning with the overall vision going forward?
Yes, indeed. So we used a balanced planning approach. So we look at what we need for airside projects like the terminals you're mentioning and also landside. So our program called SMF Forward comprises 7 projects. For the air side, that's the pedestrian walkway that I mentioned earlier between Terminal B and Concourse B. We're also adding those 6 gates to Concourse B that I mentioned. We are also going to be making baggage handling system improvements both to Terminal B as well as Terminal A. Those are our projects on the air side. For land side, I mentioned that we desperately need another parking garage. So that's a huge element that we're proceeding with. We also need to make some changes to our roadways. We're going to be putting in a ground transportation center. And if you've come and visited and rented a car here, our rental car facility is very 1970s, very surface parking. And we have a bus that serves that facility. So that's the number one complaint we receive from our customers is waiting for the rental car bus. So we're going to be building a new consolidated rental car facility just south of the existing garage, and it'll be walkable. So one of the things about our whole plan is to have a walkable terminal campus. So we're very pleased about that and are looking forward to progressing with the remaining projects.
One of the things that's becoming more and more important with airports, especially one in your region of the world as well, is the rise in e-commerce, cargo operations, and just really how they've been revolving over the last 10 years specifically too. How is the Sacramento airport system positioning itself to capitalize on this trend, and what infrastructure investments are being made to support it?
That's a great question. So as I mentioned earlier, we have a lot of land available, room to grow at our airports, in particular at SMF. We have lots of acreage available on the north side of the airport that has direct airfield access and therefore, in my view, is prized waterfront. So we have a lot of space that's available for developers should they be interested in coming in, or users who might want to build cargo facilities. So we're focused right now on the whole SMF Forward program I just described, but at any point, if there is someone who comes in and wants to develop that cargo area, they're certainly welcome to do that. At Mather, which is the second largest airport we have, we inherited that from the Air Force in 1995, and we have not only a lot of land, but we also have an 11,300-foot runway. That's a huge asset that enables all cargo flights to operate even in hot temperatures without a payload cut. So we're currently developing a real estate strategic plan for Mather that's going to create zones for different types of development, and we'll then be working with our various businesses and other stakeholders in the area near Mather to develop that airport.
Now, one of the things I personally like, and I know a lot of other travelers enjoy when they're going to the airport, are the different ways different airports are embracing technology and the role it's playing in the passenger experience, and how just the options that are being used out there by airport leaders to, enhance that overall. So tell me, what role is technology playing for you at Sacramento, and are there any innovations or pilot programs that are currently underway that you'd like to highlight?
So we are certainly embracing both AI and machine learning. The AI is, the county is as a whole, as well as the airports department, is really looking and working on ways to use AI now that the Copilot has been certified for government use. We're leaning into using that as well as ChatGPT, and really using it in all the ways that we can do. I would call it more the office type stuff that we do, and then we add the thinking part. Machine learning really can help us with our operational aspects of running the airport. So, for example, the kind of Zumba-like ways to clean the carpet, and so we're embracing that, and we're looking forward to being able to bring in more types of technology as we refresh all of our food and beverage concessions in our terminals.
And one of the things that you guys made waves on earlier this year was the TIFIA loan that you were able to secure, $36 million. Tell me about the significant investment in SMF's infrastructure and some of the examples of the projects that will be funded by this loan.
Oh, for sure. So the big picture is that we need to invest $1.7 billion at SMF as well as our other three airports over the next, say, 5 to maybe 8 years. So we need to be innovative and make each airport dollar go as far as possible. So we started with that pedestrian walkway that I mentioned earlier. We are getting a couple types of federal grants from the bipartisan infrastructure law. Some are by formula, some are discretionary. We also are going to be using passenger facility charge funds to pay for part of the project. But we really wanted to try to find an alternative to airport bonds to the extent we could. So the low interest loan from the federal government was a huge opportunity. The interest rate that we got was 2.44% compared to the 4.08 rate we got in September on tax-exempt general airport revenue bonds. And so TIFIA is going to save us $15 million over the 35-year loan just for that project alone, which is a total of $140 million. So at airports around the country, the solve for is bonds, and then that becomes debt that you need to get airlines and other stakeholders to help pay back. So TIFIA really helps relieve that burden. The $15 million we're saving means we're going to be able to build more in the future. We're actually looking to do 2 more TIFIA loans. One will be for the Concourse B expansion, those 6 gates that I mentioned. We're looking at about a $90 million loan for that out of a total $390 million project. And then the Terminal A bag handling system will use about $11 million for that $25 million capital project. So it's what TIFIA does for us is it expands our options in the various ways we can pay for our very expensive infrastructure.
So how does the TIFIA loan fit into the broader financial strategy for the airport, and what advice would you give to other airports considering similar financial mechanisms?
That's a great question. So we really have 3 words of advice for other airports. And by the way, not only did we want to use TIFIA to our own benefit, but we wanted to identify the bumps in the road and remove as many of them as we can for our fellow airports. So the few lessons, we'll just mention 3 or 4 that are really critical. One is to coordinate with the Build America Bureau early before they submit a letter of interest. Secondly, if they work with the municipal advisor, which most airports do, especially if they issue bonds, to lean heavily on your municipal advisor's advice and use them throughout the whole process. Third is to build a relationship with the Bureau's lead underwriter. Really, some of our most important decisions were ironed out in unscheduled one-on-one calls between the lead underwriter and our CFO. And the last thing I would say is the deadline to submit your letter of interest, which there's a lot of work that needs to happen before that, but the deadline is this coming September 30th. So that's a legislative deadline, and so people need to get their letters of intent in quite soon.
So one of the things when we started off this podcast today in this discussion, as you mentioned, the role of the airport and just really the region's growth that it's seen. Airports are often just seen as key drivers of regional economic growth. How does SMF contribute to the region's economy, and what partnerships have been most impactful?
Yes, so we have multiple partnerships here. I mentioned the Greater Sacramento Economic Council, GSEC. We're working very closely also with Visit Sacramento. Obviously, they are focused on various visitors to this area. We have worked very closely with our environmental community and our development community in terms of being able to make the most out of our facilities. And, we have room to grow on that. We certainly are, as I mentioned earlier, we are a huge economic engine because we serve an area of about 7 counties of about 3 million people. So if we weren't here, basically they would have to go all the way to the Bay Area or to Reno to really hit another commercial service airport.
mentioning before about the success you've seen in attracting new airlines and routes, and that's obviously a priority for everybody, especially when you're having it being such a key part of the economic equation in a region. What strategies have you employed to expand air service offerings, and what successes have you seen recently?
For sure. So we, as I mentioned, we do use the FAA 10% ticket pools to be able to substantiate to the airlines how many people are trying to go from here to whatever their destination is, regardless of whether they're hubbing or on a nonstop. So we have also, in addition to the regional air alliance with the Greater Sacramento Economic Council that I mentioned, we also have a close partnership with all of our airlines. Southwest Airlines has the greatest amount of activity here. So it's about usually 55 to 60% of our total passenger numbers. And interestingly, we're one of only 3 airports where Southwest is doing very well. One is Houston, one is Las Vegas, and the third is Sacramento. So we are actually always talking to Southwest about new opportunities, and we have seen them add a ton of flights here. We have, since about the summer of 2024, we've added 8 domestic flights to all kinds of places like Kona, Lihue, Eugene, Oregon, Detroit, Ontario, California, Kansas City, Tucson, Orlando, etc. You had mentioned earlier international flights, Mexico City, Los Cabos, and Puerto Vallarta. We also have additional flights that are coming. So we've got Morelia starting on 4th of July, interestingly, and we've got Anchorage starting June 14th. So the story is just one of growth and kind of really an open mindset to facilitating greater travel for friends and family, businesses, and visitors.
Now, there's a lot of success you're seeing and a lot of growth. What are the biggest challenges you're facing today?
So the biggest 2 challenges, I would say, one is honestly hiring people. Has been a tough job market, and so we are working very hard on ensuring that we have a culture that attracts and keeps people. Second challenge I would mention is just keeping track of what's going on at the federal level right now. I really feel that we get a lot of support from Congress as well as the administration who support airport infrastructure. So I was just at a conference last week in DC, met with 3 of our local representatives in Congress, as well as someone from our Senator Padilla's staff, and also talked with key leaders in FAA and TSA. And I really do feel that there's a strong amount of support from them. There is a lot of uncertainty, though. We don't have an FAA administrator yet. And so we're waiting. I don't think the Senate hearing has even been scheduled. We understand Brian Bedford has been tapped to be the next FAA administrator. And that will bring a lot of stability and direction to the FAA. So that's a challenge. And in particular, if FAA and TSA lose more staff, that will be a challenge for us on a number of fronts, operationally every day. It'll be a challenge in terms of getting environmental approvals done, and it will also be a challenge in terms of getting our grants in a timely manner.
And my last question for you today, looking ahead, what do you see as the most exciting opportunities for your airport system? How do you plan to position the airport as a leader in North America's aviation industry?
That's a great question. We really feel that we have some benefits and some opportunities that very few airports in this area have. So the Bay Area airports are all very significantly land constrained. Given that we have room to grow, in particular at SMF as well as Mather, that's a huge asset that just cannot be replenished if you don't have it. Also, I would say it's the people. We have great staff here, and we have an incredible community that's hugely supportive of us. I love that when I'm walking around the terminal, I hear people talking about comparing SMF to other airports they've just flown back from or that they're about to head to. And the sense of ownership and just that people feel this is their airport means a lot to me. So I think with that huge support from our community, as well as room to grow, the sky's the limit.
Cindy, it was a pleasure talking to you today and learning a lot more about what's going on in Sacramento, and I can't wait to see more success.
Thank you, Joe. It's been great talking with you.
Thanks for tuning in to the Aviation Pros podcast. Stay ahead in airport operations and leadership by subscribing to our Airport Business Daily Newsletter, your go-to source for the latest industry insights. And don't forget to explore even more at AviationPros.com, the home of exclusive content for aviation professionals like you. I'm Joe Petrie. We'll catch you next time.